Afternoon all, and today I'm going to review the INNORI power bank and car jump starter. So let's actually start with the box, and here we have it described as a mini multifunction jump starter, car emergency start the car immediately even with flat batteries. Bright lighting, that refers to the torch. It's got a little torch on the side. These are the torch modes. Fully charge a standard mobile phone up to 10 times, and it's a 20th of the size of a conventional jump starter. Now on the back there's a little bit more detail here. It says jump starts 98% of 12 volt petrol vehicles, and I think they particularly say petrol because diesel engines have much higher compression and therefore they tend to have larger and more powerful starter motors. So petrol only by the look of it on here. So now I'll just go through all the plugs and sockets on the outside of the unit, and interestingly they're all labelled the other way up. So let's start at this end on the right. This is an input. It says 12 volts to 20 volts at 1 amp. That's for charging the unit. Next there's an output, 12 volts at 2 amps. Then there's the on-off switch. Then there's an output 5 volts at 2.1 amps, and that's clearly a USB type A. Then there's a little bar graph, 5 LEDs here going from 20% up to 100%. And then there's an output 19 volts at 4 amps. Now on this end of the unit there's a little cover here which has a picture of a car with its bonnet lifted. So this is where the high current connector is, and this is supposed to be up to 200 amps direct from the LiPo pack inside here. There won't be any circuitry between that connector and the LiPo pack. And then the other thing we have here is a little 1 watt LED torch. Now on the other end there's this odd little plastic cover, and in fact all it is a little blanking plate. It is a cover for a screw that holds the lid on. Now if I press the on switch, we get a little red light on the USB so that you can find it, I guess. That's quite handy. And it's showing all 5 blue lights are on, which indicates that it has 100% capacity. It's fully charged, in other words. Now to use the torch or flashlight, you press and hold the button, but you do have to hold it for a very long time. It's about 3 seconds. Then the 1 watt LED torch comes on. If you press it again, you get a strobe mode, and if you press it again it flashes out SOS in Morse code, and then one last press and it switches off. Now the jump starter is supplied in this rather nice wallet, zip-up wallet, which is ideal for keeping in your car, and inside here is the starter itself, the crop clip cables which you connect to your battery for jump starting the car. There's a AC power adapter here. It's a US or Chinese adapter in this case, but it does work with 240 volts, so it will work in the UK with an adapter. There are all sorts of laptop adapters here. There's a cable here for charging the INNORI while you're driving along in your car, little adapter cables for the DC outputs, and then various mobile phone and USB type connectors and cables, and a user manual. Now the user manual describes all of the input and output ports and what they can be used for. There's a parts list, and there's also a little bit of technical specifications here, including 12,000 milliamp hours, the capacity of the cells inside this unit. Now we have to try and work out at what voltage this is, and I suspect it's 12,000 milliamp hours at 3.7 volts. We've got outputs here, 5 volt 2 amps, 19 volt 3.5 amps, and 12 volt 2 amps, and the input 12 volt 2 amps. That slightly disagrees with what's printed on the box. Full charging time 5 to 6 hours, starting current 200 amps, and peak current 400 amps. And there's quite a bit of stuff in here related to how to connect it to your car battery and start the car, and some warnings and do's and don'ts. Now this one interested me. Do not disassemble the host, otherwise it may be dangerous. Well, I'm not going to take any notice of that, am I? So this little disc up at this end of the unit just simply hides a screw. See if I can get that in the light. Yes, it's a little cross point screw, so we'll take that one out. And then on the other side you have to remove this little stick-on cover that's over the LED, and that reveals a second screw. And then when you undo that, it's simply a case of getting the lid off, which is just tabbed. There are lots and lots of clips and tabs all the way around. Some may break, a couple broke when I did it, but then you can see inside the unit. So inside we have this, and this is indeed a LiPo pack. Now let's just check how many cells we have here. And that looks like 3 cells to me, so that makes sense. Now at the other end of the LiPo pack, this is where the high current wires go in. You can see the red one there, the black one's underneath, and then they run underneath the circuit board and come out on the high current connector here. But at this end of the pack there's a battery protection board by the looks of it. There's lots of these 8-pin devices here, and then there's some sort of controller chip there. I'll just get the part number of that. So this is a Seiko Instruments 8254AA. It says on the device, just says A here. And this is indeed a battery protection IC for 3 serial or 4 serial cell packs. So that's that device under the yellow tape there. Now these 6 8-pin devices here are all discrete P-channel MOSFETs 4435A. So here's the 4435A, and then that works in conjunction with the battery protection IC to switch off the cells if they go over or under voltage. Now there are 4 inductors on this board, and I couldn't work out initially what they were all for, but we have a very large one here. Now that, with this capacitor, is near the 19 volt output, so that's clearly the boost converter to raise the voltage of the battery up to produce 19 volts. It's 19 volts at 4 amps, so that's nearly 80 watts, which explains why this is so big. Then there's another inductor here next to the 12 volt input. Now this is 12 to 20 volts, and there's a little controller chip here. So this charging circuit is actually switch mode. So this third inductor is next to the USB, and that's going to be a buck converter to take 12 volts on the pack down to 5 volts for the USB socket. And then there's another little inductor here, and next to it is a PT4115. And the only place I've ever seen those is in LED driver modules. But of course there is an LED here, the torch thing, and that's wired into this section. So this uses an LED driver module for this LED, and if you look at the LED, it's hard to see, but you can just about see one of those circular bead LEDs sitting there on this board, which has lots of copper, so that's kind of acting as a heatsink. Now these 2 wires that run to the LED are alarmingly close together, so I'm just going to go in there and ease them apart with this cocktail stick, because I wouldn't want them shorting together. Now I can't see the controller devices for the 19 volt boost converter and the 5 volt buck converter, so I suspect that they're on the other side of this board, on the underside. So all in all, this is quite a nice looking board. There's a lot of stuff on here because there are a lot of sections. There are a lot of different power supply sections, including the input charge controller circuit to charge the LiPo in the first place. Right, so let's get the cover back on this thing and see what we can power with it. So this is my old HP laptop. Let's switch it on, and this thing has long since been unable to power itself from its battery. It's always needed the plug put in, so it just keeps hibernating. So it's resuming now, and you can see it's just immediately saying preparing to hibernate. And now it's hibernating, so I presume that means it's writing everything to writing the current memory state to disk, and then it will just shut down. And there it is, it's shut off. So what I'll do now is I'll plug it into the INNORI pack. I've used one of the adapters here to go into the power socket. I'll plug that into the 19 volts, see if we can run it from the jump starter. So certainly the power light's on, that's the yellow one there, and it is resuming Windows. So certainly I've got into Windows. This thing will now take an age to settle down because the antivirus will have to go through all its updates, and you can't really use it for about 15 minutes, it just takes so long. It's massively underpowered CPU, it's running Windows XP. Okay, on the jump starter pack, it's already down to 4 LEDs because the batteries are flat on the laptop, so this is going to be pulling a fair amount of power through that 19 volt circuit. So I won't leave this on for too long because I do want to use this to try and jump start my car. Now I've just been disconnecting these cables, and this adapter plug that was in the back of the laptop actually feels quite warm, so that was, oh, the laptop's just shut off, so that was definitely passing a fair bit of current, and the pack is now showing just 3 lights, so that was drawing a fair old wattage. So I'm going to just take this out and in the car and give it a bit of a recharge. Just for the moment, let's find a 12 volt battery that's dead that I can put in my car. What's this one measuring? So that's nice and flat, 3.35 volts. Excellent, that'll do nicely. Right, this is the battery in my car. Now obviously this battery is fully charged and I don't intend to flatten it. So I'm going to have to take this one out. It's 5 years old, but it's too good for this test, so let's remove this battery. Right, well that was a bit of an effort because for some reason this battery has the posts at the front, whereas this battery has them at the back, but we've got it in. It's a bit tilted over, but that'll do. So now I'm just going to see if the car, any of the lights come on. I shouldn't have thought so at 3 volts. Let's give it a try. Okay, so nothing on the key, and if I turn it to the start position, completely dead. So there we are. I've flattened my battery, I've left my lights on or something. Nothing doing. Let's try the jump starter. Now the instructions say that I should connect the crock clips first and then plug in the blue connector, and I imagine that's just so that you don't accidentally short the 2 crock clips together after having plugged in the blue connector. It's unlikely because they're very well shrouded and insulated, and there is a fuse there. I guess that's a fuse which would blow if you did, but I'll follow the instructions anyway. Okay, so my crock clips are on, the blue connector is just loosely fitted, so I'm going to push that in now. And there's a click and a little whirring sound. I imagine that's the fuel pump. Let's see if we can start the car. So we have lights, the fan's running. I should turn that off really to minimise strain on the battery. Right, let's give this a try. Just check I'm in neutral. Yep. And there we go. The car starts absolutely fine. Now they say don't leave it on for more than 30 seconds. So I'm actually going to turn it off now, and that's because the alternator is now going to be charging that LiPo without any protective circuits at all. So that's why they say don't leave it running for more than 30 seconds. So that's pretty impressive. Now let's just check. We've still got 5 bars on the scale. Now there's an issue here. Is this device just charging up this battery and then this battery starts the car, or can the car start on the jump starter on its own? And the only way I'm going to know is by taking this battery completely out of the car and seeing if I can start the car purely on the jump starter, and I'm willing to give that a try, why not? But just before I do that, I want to see now with the jump starter disconnected whether the car will start on this battery or is it really completely dead. And the answer is no, nothing. So that battery really is dead. So it should not be having much of an effect, and if I take it out of the car completely, the situation is going to be similar. So let's do it. Okay, my car now has no battery at all, just the INNORI jump starter. Right, should we connect that to the negative? Oops. And the car's making funny ticking noises again. Let's just balance that up there. That looks right, doesn't it? Okay, let's try and start it. So we have lots of flashing lights here. My car is now completely 3-cell LiPo powered. No lead acid in this car at all. And it starts fine. Okay, I'll switch that off so as not to knacker the LiPo. Amazing. So now, after starting my car, the bar graph is reading 5 lights. Well, I suppose the point is that starting the car does take a fair old jolt of energy out of this thing, but then running it immediately puts it all back. So this thing could probably start the car numerous times without any difficulty. So yes, it seems that this little INNORI car jump starter can start my car either with a flat battery or with no battery at all. Now it has to be said that this car has a very small engine. This is a Citroen C1. It's a 3-cylinder, 1 litre, I think it's 998 cc's. Nevertheless, I'm quite impressed that that little LiPo pack can start a car.